If you want to listen to a almost 38-year-old grown adult drone on for almost an hour about every rollerblade he's ever owned since the early 90s, well, you've come to the right place. And also, if you are somebody who has clicked on this video because of the title or the thumbnail, or you've got here somehow and you're thinking to yourself, people bought and used rollerblades after the 90s and companies still made rollerblades? Believe it or not, there was a group of people that continued to rollerblade not only in the 2000s, but also in the 2010s. Yes, the whole time. Every skate that I'm going to talk about here, I bought and used skates every single year since the early 90s. I'm a normal person with a job and a wife and a child. I turned out okay, even though I rollerbladed for almost 3 decades without stopping. So, welcome. And here we go. I'm going to try and get through it fairly quickly. Hopefully not too many side trails. And there are some clear skate crisis zones that I'm going to touch upon. And the list also leans heavily on 2 brands of skates, which is Remedies, the early days, Rems and K2. And that's because not only did I like the skates, but I was a rider for both of these companies, a flow rider, which I'll go into more depth. So here we go. My first time trying rollerblades were these Bauer 3-wheel kids rentals out at a place called Shuswap Lake, a summer vacation spot outside of Kamloops. Yeah, you could rent rollerblades and try them in the early 1990s. And I have a photo of my first time trying rollerblades. I think I'm 10 or 11 here. I don't know the exact date. But if I look at a picture of myself in grade 3, it looks like around the same time. I'm very little. And as a very serious hockey player at the time, which continued on through the years, the hockey connection, I took to rollerblades right away. They felt amazing, and just the idea of being able to skate on something that felt like ice skates anywhere where there was cement was incredible. It still is, but it was incredible. I remember being hooked on the feeling right away. It was just, I wanted a pair of rollerblades after trying them. Actually, a lot of people have a similar story that you meet through rollerblading, or people that got hooked on skating. And some of the best skaters, greatest skaters of all time, Haffey and Broskow, Arlo, a bunch of people came from hockey or ice skating. So a lot of us, we actually had no idea about skateboard culture, or whatever was happening with the early days of aggressive inline skating hadn't really happened yet, or it hadn't struck us yet. So I think I obviously wanted a pair of rollerblades, so I begged my parents for birthday or Christmas or something. And I have a clear memory of going to the Bay in Kamloops and my mom went with me, and I would have been maybe 12 at this point, or still 11, I'm not sure. And they had a stack of Ultra wheels, which was like the Wayne Gretzky endorsed brand in the Bay. They were black and turquoise with like turquoise wheels. I'm pretty sure they were Ultra wheels. They might be Bauer, but I'm pretty sure they were Ultra wheels. And you think of distribution at the time, to know that you could have just gone into a big department store somewhere in Canada and after trying them at like maybe a rental place, because that was really popular, you could go into a department store in a small town and get something endorsed by a hockey player on the box, Wayne Gretzky in the Bay. And I remember the idea of like having skates of my own was very exciting. I'm not sure if I can find a picture of this, but I'll try. After that, I started heavily playing roller hockey, obviously, skating around a lot, and I got a pair of Ultra wheels. They were hockey skates, and I played a lot of roller hockey in a very like a hodgepodge. I don't know if that's the right word, but in the KXA building, they would just turn benches over to their side, and there was a roller hockey league. KXA was like where they had rodeos and home shows and stuff, and there was the beginnings of roller hockey league, and I would use I probably used those Ultra wheels, like the very first ones, just like a standard black boot, and then my next pair were a pair of hockey skates. And then on a very important day in my life, probably grade 7 at this point, maybe going into grade 8, but grade 7, so that's like, what, 12 or 13? I went into a Play It Again Sports, and I saw... Oh, actually, side note, I would do quote-unquote tricks in these skates. Like, I would jump in them. I think a lot of people did. They played roller hockey, and they jumped off of stuff. And my first real trick was, again, out at Shuswap Lake. I jumped off of a concrete gap thing into grass. There's a picture of it. It was on the back cover of Better Than Baseball, and you can see the Ultra Wheel skates, the hockey skates, in that photo. But I went into Play It Again Sports. I don't know time-wise. It's hard to say if it was summer going into grade 8 or in grade 7. Pretty sure in grade 7. And I saw a video playing on the TV of who I would learn would be Dave Kalash front-siding a 394-foot handrail. And you could rent this video called Mad Beef. There's a guy named Chad Watson working at the counter who was getting into aggressive inline skating. I didn't even know that's what it was called. And that was it. I didn't even know. I maybe saw at Whistler at the bottom of the chairlift, there was a skate park. I think I saw a guy do a handstand at one point. Sorry, water. But yeah, that was when I found out there was actually, you could do grinds on them. I didn't even know that was possible. And there was a whole thing around this style of skating. And then he showed my friend Colin and I on the wall. They had Kryptonics wheels and Sonic grind plates. And I think he let us know that if you want to do the tricks, then you need the grind plates and the smaller wheels. So I got those for the hockey skates. And that was the beginning of, you would go to a school and find a bike rack and push yourself along the bike rack to try and slide it on your skates. And that was the beginning of being able to take home Mad Beef. Was similar to being able to take home your first pair of skates. Like, these worlds were opening up where you see something and hockey was exciting, but this was very, very exciting because it was new. I didn't even know it existed. And then you see it, you're blown away. You don't even know these things are possible on skates. So then it evolved into 1995. I was a very serious hockey player, rep hockey player, and I got to see at Play It Again Sports again. It comes into play the distribution of skates, so that skates were available at the Bay, and there was a guy at Play It Again Sports who ordered in the right stuff and somehow knew about Mad Beef. I'm not sure how that worked. But I saw the Tarmac CE, which stands for Chris Edwards. And that was the first pair of real aggressive skates that I saw. And I think it was probably like a combined Christmas and birthday present. And those were the ones with the bridge grind plates in the middle and the clearish brownish hyper wheels. I think they had a power strap. I remember getting Lazy Legs pads, and that was the beginning of the obsession of Mad Beef, the bottom line, and my Tarmacs. I remember, Lucy, I remember playing a hockey game that day, and the skates were waiting in the vehicle, and all I could think about was using these skates. From there, it was the Rose's Majestic 12, I think that was a Christmas present, probably combined birthday present, the fall, like whatever way you could figure out how to get your next pair of skates. Combined Christmas, birthday was a good way to go. And it was probably easy for parents too. I got the black M12s, so that was where had the lowrider wheels and the red grind plates. I think I skated those anti. They fit really well. I learned a lot. I was skating a lot. Those were great skates. Big summer in those skates. Going to my first competitions, or that to know the lowrider frame, and the more solid boot was a big deal with those skates. At the same time, I was still heavily into roller hockey. I was always a Bauer guy in hockey. That was, I think, before they got bought out by Nike, or Nike, whatever way you say it. So I got my Bauer 4000 skates, an older pair of hockey skates converted at Play It Again Sports to have a hockey chassis on the bottom, and played in like a more professional roller hockey league. I remember getting special green wheels and learned how to hockey stop. And I think our team won whatever the comp tournament was that year. Those skates were amazing. Actual hockey skates with a hockey chassis bolted onto the bottom with amazing soft green wheels. I think they were made for indoor, I'm not sure. But yeah, wheel slides, game changing. If the other people in roller hockey don't know how to do wheel slides, it's a game changer if you can. Direction changers. Next, this is probably around 1996. The following Christmas was white M12s with CDS Detroit heel plates. Heel plates started to come in. So this was 1996 or 97. Green CDS Detroit heel plates to help with your alley-oop grinds. This is when I started to learn alley-oop grinds, and I had medium Jake Elliott wheels, flat, 54 millimeter. I think this is maybe from roller hockey I started to skate flat more, but this expanded my idea of skating because it wasn't just grinding. I got more into gaps and things, and I think maybe VG7 was the video at the time, in that era. So maybe watching Josh Petty, I was very influenced to have flat and go fast. Oh, and also Jeff Frederick in VG7, I think, was an influence to get those skates. Moving on, lots of people were skating in Kamloops, and I remember trying a friend's K2 backyard bobs, and I remember getting that weird fallback feeling at first. But then after getting used to them, the big sole, the lowrider feeling, the backslide, they felt like shoes, and they felt completely different than any other skate. They weren't like the traditional hard boots that I had all used or anything. They didn't feel like hockey skates. They felt like the first, it sounds so corny, but real aggressive inline skate. And I remember when I got those skates, I can't remember when, 97 maybe again, or I don't know. But it was cool being able to try other people's skates. But I remember I progressed so much on those skates. I did my first handrails. They helped with my personal style, and I skated a lot different than I did in the Roses. The only thing about those was the backslide plate wore out really quickly. And I can't remember, I think I skated those flat as well. Then this is the era, you think of 96, 97, 98 was when the cash just started flowing and companies were making tons of different skates. You could go into a Sport Mart in Canada at the time, and they had an actual wall of aggressive skates. They had K2, they had Roses, they had Bauer. I'm trying to think of what else. But because of the hockey relation and because I loved Bauer's hockey skates, it was exciting that Bauer made an aggressive skate. They were definitely strange looking. There was the green ones and the brown ones. But I loved the Sam Fogarty Daily Bread interview where he had the green ones. And I remember trying a friend's, again, like you could try, there were so many people that had skates. You could try different skates at the time. And you could try them on in a shop. Like they were very readily available, even in a small town like Kamloops, British Columbia. So I remember trying the Bauers, and I liked them because of the hockey thing, and they were actually pretty good, apart from the sole plate being kind of hollow feeling. The frame was really good. It slid really well. They were comfortable. The liner was a bit weird, but I just liked the feel of the skate. And it was very unconventional at the time to switch from K2 to Bauer, but I also liked the Canadian connection. I'm not sure if Nike had bought them out yet, but I loved that they had Canadian team riders and that Bauer was a Canadian company. I'm not sure the history on that. Someone has to correct me if I'm wrong, but there was the hockey connection and the Canada connection that made me excited about Bauer. Probably my gromness too. I probably thought, oh, I could probably get sponsored by Bauer because they're from Canada, and you remember how a young person, a young T-Dog or Grom thinks. So from the Bauer, Solomon was getting into the sport, and they were so brilliant because you would do comps. There was the Canadian Aggressive Tour at that point where there would be competitions where you would meet people from different cities now. And Solomon would have a booth where you could try one of their skates on your foot and then the current skate that you had. And what the Fatty or the Backyard Bob had been with K2, Solomon kind of upped the game even more with the crazy technology and engineering. A big thing with that one was the shock absorber. They didn't slide great, but they felt amazing. Like as soon as you put it on and compared it to your current skate, they were more comfortable. They felt really fast. The boot shape was really unique. The frame was really unique. The wheels they came with were quality. So I moved on to the ST9. Those were like the brownie khaki ones. Although they slid slow, the shock absorber was next level in Kamloops for doing gaps. And it was right around the time Hoax 5 came out, so it just changed the way we skated in Kamloops. You would just find stuff that was really big and try and jump off of it. At this point, I'm definitely realizing I'm a huge Grom, and that the part of me that still loves to try different skates this is happening now. So this is 1998 going into 1999. I traced my foot, or I saw, I think it was in Transcend, Jason Marshall using the Remedy skates. Maybe saw an ad in Daily Bread, and because it was so unique, the low cut shoe with the V cut in the back, just the ad of Kato poking his toes out, was unlike anything I had ever seen. And at that point I realized that trying different types of technology could change your skating or change the way you look at it. So I remember tracing my foot, faxing it to Kato. I was the first customer in Canada for Remedies at the time. And Kato is such a G that he lost money shipping those skates to me, because I don't know if he had done shipping to Canada, so there was probably import charges that he had. So thank you, Kato, for taking a hit, because those skates changed my life. The K2s were good, and the Solomons were good, but these, I remember calling him, and he said, "Do you like a nice tight fit on your skate?" And I said, "Yes." And then he sent them, and he had the foot tracing. I have nice thin feet, so those original Remedies didn't fit wide feet very well. I thought they were too small when I got them, but I called him and he said, once they break in, they'll start to feel really good. And then those skates, I progressed even more. It was probably my love of skating and my age at the time, but the way you could point your toes, the V-cut in the back, the tight fit, the way they laced up, how they were soft but responsive at the same time. Such amazing skates. I remember putting them on not a decade later, but years later, and skated so good in them until I broke the frames in them, because they just they felt like amazing shoes. They make me want to try Adapts one day, but I'm not ready for Adapts. I want to try Adapts if they feel like Remedies. Next, because I'm a Grom and I wanted to try different skates, I got, trying to think if this was through, so there's going to be lots of K2s coming up because I started, no, probably not yet. I knew a rep from K2, Jason, who ended up hooking me up with being able to do product videos in exchange for product later on. But I don't know if I got a deal on these or what, but the K2 King 55 was my next skate. I don't know why I switched from Remedies to those, but it must have had something to do with their marketing or something in Daily Bread. Maybe the Sean Robertson interview or Eric Burke in FOR. I'm not sure. I remember these skates being probably the most supportive skates I ever had. They were super fast because of the Face 60 wheels with the big core. I remember them being really good for mini ramp. We would skate this weird indoor mini ramp in Kelowna, and there was one in Kamloops. But I think they weren't, maybe because I was skating flat 60, they were great, and I look back on them fondly, but they weren't the skates for me compared to some of my other favorite skates. So that takes us to 2000. That was a whole decade of skates. Now for 2000 to 2010, the USD Shima Cyrus, they weren't good. They were big, wide, sloppy. The frames broke on them. They were fine for the back to blading word. Fine. They were fine for just if you just wanted to do nice grinds on rails, then they're good. Other than that, didn't like them. Broke the frames. I think the story behind those is that maybe Powerslide made the 50/50 frames, and 50/50 didn't have full quality control, so I remember the frames snapping right down the middle. And I think I had aluminum grind plates and flat in them, and they just were sloppy and all over the place. I have no good memories of those skates apart from doing a nice backslide in them. Sloptastic. That was probably right around when I was drinking age too, so maybe I was hungover sometimes when I was skating in some sloppy skates. In this era, I also so this is like early 2000s, 2000 to 2003 or 2004-ish. Multiple pairs of Remedies, the gray and black ones, and the white and red ones. They were, I think, a size bigger, or a size and a half bigger than my red and black ones. The gray and black ones were amazing, super supportive, stiff. The white and red ones were an older model, a little bit softer, and not as supportive, but I loved both of those skates, skated really good in them. Skated anti-rocker in both of those. I skated the white ones freestyle with no middle wheels. And I guess maybe Mind Game influenced me to do that. I don't know. And then the gray ones I had Higgs anti-rocker in the middle. I also got a pair of Razor Elliots in this era. Didn't like those skates. The liner was uncomfortable and hurt my feet. They came flat. The frames and wheels were okay. I remember the hardware came loose and I just didn't like them. I got some good tricks in them. I think I ended up selling those to somebody. Yeah, you're going to see on this list, there's barely any rollerblade skates apart from the Tarmacs. Razors does not fare well, and neither does USD. So it's heavy on the K2 and Rems, and eventually Seba and them down the road. Oh, with a little dash of Roses and Solomon here and there. Next, this is when I was starting to do video, product knowledge videos for K2 through my friend Jason. So I got a pair of K2 Naturals through that. But the dumb thing about this is when 50/50 frames, the juice blocks first came out. So I got him to UFS the bottom, like shave off the frame that was on the skates so I could put 50/50 frames and juice blocks on. Not the greatest choice, but there will be many experiments in these 3 decades that aren't going to work. But you have to try. I just don't know what inspired that. More freestyle stuff happening. Strange. Yeah, this is 2004-ish now. They were okay. I probably should have left them be. I think they were a little bit too supportive for me. So there's something just didn't work. See, this is kind of a skate crisis era. There's a lot going on. No solid choices. I would say the gray and black Rems were easily the best out of this era. Next, through Jason again, K2 had their new boots, the Transfer and the Nemesis. The Transfer was the giant gray and black snowboard boot looking things, and the Nemesis were the white and red snowboard boot looking things. Didn't get on well with either of these at all. I think I skated the Nemesis with the juice block frames, and it just was not a good time. I think I ended up selling the Transfers to Todd. He did a nice 900 in them. He skated them quite well. I understand those skates now, and I think they would work for a lot of people now. They were just so big. Pat Lennon rocked them amazingly for how he skated. They suited that, like doing huge tricks in anti-rocker, but like they didn't feel good to skate flat in. It's hard to explain. Just not good. Oh, that's why I was in a skate crisis. They had run out of the non-UFS remedies, because for maybe 3 years it felt like. Was it 3 years? It felt like a long time that Kato was working on the UFS remedies. So UFS was the frame system that Solomon came up with in the early 2000s, or the industry standard where you could switch different frames. So that's why those K2 skates weren't as good, because as soon as they gave into UFS, the quality went down, because their skates were almost better without UFS. It's hard to explain. That's a whole other thing. Look at the Back to Blading video about UFS. He explains it very well. But so obviously I was in a skate crisis because of the UFS Rems were being worked on. So this is, I guess it's the 03 one that came out, or the 04 one. The beige looking skate with teal bluish accents. I remember taking a road trip to Calgary while filming Cirque du Soleil and buying the skates from Gang Store. I think it was Sean Unwin at the time. We had made all these friends from competing in these Canadian Aggressive Tour things. And then the Canadian Aggressive Tour went away because the industry was starting to tank a little bit. But we would all hang out and skate and film for video projects and stuff. And they had started a little shop project, and I remember paying, I'm pretty sure it was Unwin in cash on this filming trip to Calgary and getting the Renzo 3 ones. And this was a huge skate for me. And I think I skated them with the cuffs on for the first little bit, but then before we went home, drove back to Kamloops, I took the cuffs off, and that was the game changer. Skating them flat, cuffless, amazing. The feel was so crazy. Like, my ankle muscles were so weak when I first started skating them, and then over time they built up. Game-changing skate for me. The liner was really comfortable in those skates, and the quality went down for the liner in probably the next decade, I would say. Or no, actually, there were some bad Rems models here and there near the end of this decade. But yeah, that is one of my favorite pairs of skates from that decade, was that first pair of UFS rims. I'm pretty sure it's called the 031. I'll have to look it up. Around this time, still doing product videos for K2s. I got my first pair of free skates, the K2 Soul 7s. If you're wondering what happened to my hockey career, I became so obsessed with skating that I quit in the middle of a key year for hockey where I could have started going in the serious hockey direction, but skating had just fully consumed me. It was too exciting. And although I loved hockey, it was just getting to that very serious. Hockey was the opposite of skating at the time. It was just super serious, and it just wasn't the same. It wasn't as fun anymore. I know, it's crazy. You chose rollerblading? You chose rollerblading? Yes, it's true. From doing product videos, I got my first pair of free skates, the K2 Soul 7s. At the time, it was very taboo to play roller hockey, use big wheels. I don't know who we can... Daily Bread, Senate, all that. We were like little cult people who were giving into all these unwritten rules. So it was funny. Like, the Soul 7s were a great free skate. And I think K2 was making free skates to compete with Solomon had started doing the free skate stuff. K2 always does stuff as a reaction to what's happening in the industry. So I think Solomon started doing the free skate thing, so then K2 had to do it. They were amazing skates. I still have them. They felt amazing. They were super fun, but it was funny that like those didn't count as quote unquote real skates. So they weren't integrated into my life. They were a weird fun thing that I would maybe put on once in a while, but outside of that, they were separate in my mind. That'll change though later. Then I got the yellow 250cc's for doing the product videos. I still have those. They're for sale. And I also sold a pair to Joel Beaver, who killed it in them in I'm not sure what video, but really amazing skates. But I was so into Rems that the K2 felt way too supportive and not flexy enough for how I skated at the time. Next, I got on Autoline as a team rider, and I was I got flowed a set of Rems. I guess things were going well at that time because we kept making videos. So maybe, Cirque du Soleil had come out, and we had done Okay Buddy and How to Be Unpopular before that. So I got a pair of Haffy Rems, the gray and black ones, through a shop. And also the Rems 031LE, which I painted black. They were like a beige with a beige toe cap. those are both in the Better Than Baseball era. Both amazing skates. The Haffy Rems especially were very quality and supportive. The liner was good on both of those. Yeah, I painted the 031 LE black, and I used those heavily in Better Than Baseball. Skated flat in ground control frames. Just had my setup dialed at this point. The UFS Rems were it for me. Unfortunately, partway through the first year of filming for Better Than Baseball, I was doing a dirt slide across a corner ledge. That's a fishbrain cess slide. At least that's what I think it's called. I think that's what Feinberg called it, dirt slide. So you're fishbraining a flat surface. You're not locked into anything. And I did it so good that I was still in the pose, came off the ledge, and sprained my ankle, 4th degree sprain. Closest you can possibly do before breaking it. Thank you, Blade God, for my ankle not breaking there. But I was out for a long time. And I had to reflect on life and being obsessed with rollerblading. This was 2005, 2006. I remember having a key moment in the middle of that injury where I realized there was more things that family, education, girlfriend, wife, all that stuff, that stuff was very important. So, and then also being 23 or 24, and having an injury that put me out, all of my eggs were in the rollerblading basket. So the next product videos I did, I got a pair of, no. I remember how this went. I went for a rec skate when my ankle was healing. It was like after 3 months out, I went for a rec skate. I've told this on the podcast, but I went for a rec skate in my halfies with 56 millimeters flat on a really gravelly Kamloops road, and I was listening to Arcade Fire's first album, Funeral. Another key moment where I went rec skating in my aggressive skates, but that's how much I still believed in the whole no, you don't skate big wheels if you're an aggressive inline skater. What a dumb thing to think about in retrospect. But the freedom that I felt and exercising, doing something for my ankle, listening to music, it was very inspiring. So that was, around 2006, whenever Funeral first came out. You have your iPod, you're going down a hill in your Rems, and you're listening to music, and you don't have to do any tricks. There's no team, there's no filming. I had reconnected to skating in a new way. So for the product video for K2 that year, I remember getting a pair of Radical 100s, I think they were called. And although they made my ankles bleed to break them in from rubbing, I think it was because I skated in ankle socks or skated them sockless. Those changed my life in a big way. I started not speed skating, but going for long rec skates in a pair of speed skates. And my ankle healed up and my fitness got way better. My strength got way better. It was just a good time in general. And it was a weird thing at that time to do that within skating. That if you did tricks, aggressive inline skating, whatever, if you were a street skater or a park skater, that it wasn't normal or accepted to do that. What a bizarre thing to think about in retrospect. After that, there was the Rems 061 that I got. I bought those ones. I think Autoline had closed down, or I'm not sure. I think Autoline had closed down at that point. The Rems 061, they hurt. The fit wasn't right. The straps were weird. My ankles bled. Just not a good time. You can see in the footage too that they look really small and painful. The only upside to that is I had night plates on, which was an interesting experiment. But I find UHMW is it's a weird feeling grind. After that, because of Face the Music, the Rose's Ollie Short, which were amazing. It was great to return to that exact same boot that I had skated, I guess, 10 years prior. So this is a decade in now. Is it a decade in? Whoa, no, that's like 20 years later. No, it's not. Oh, it's like, no, it's only 10 years later. The Rose's Ollie Short. Face the Music was amazing. Dunkel was doing a great job with the brand. I wanted the Ollie Short skates. Those were the first Pro M12s. Love those skates. A lot of like old feel came back from skating size 10 Roses earlier. Skated those rockered. But when I needed replacement sole plates for them, I love those skates. Size 10 replacement sole plates were not available, not only in North America, but I'm pretty sure everywhere online in all of the world, I couldn't get replacement sole plates for my Ollie shorts. Which there's another story with that after. The industry was in such a weird spot that I think it was because it was switching over to Volo. There were only Volo sole plates available. And I got Volo sole plates for them. And they made the skates feel super heavy on the bottom. They made them feel like shit. Which brings me to Shadow was coming out around that time. So I think Out of Line's either dead or almost dead. These are like mixed up year-wise. 2007, 2008? Not sure. But the first Shadows came out. I'm a sucker for any new technology. Not so much anymore. I think I know what I like, but still, you want to try the new exciting stuff. So I got the Lattimer Shadows, the Solomon-made ones. And around that, a year or two later, around that same time, I also got the Farmers. That was during Mushroom Blading 1. I hated the way that those skates felt for skating around. I hated the way they felt for sole grinds. They were responsive and they were good for some stuff. I hated the cuff, how restrictive it was. I hated my stance when I landed. The poop stance or something to do with the alignment. People landed really weird in those skates. Some people skated amazingly in them, like Lattimer, Todd, Werbeski, the list goes on and on and on. Another thing, so the industry again was in such a weird place that I needed replacement sole plates for my Shadows, like the Rose's Ollie Short. Couldn't get them. So funny to think that the industry was like, see, this era, rollerblading was dead to the mainstream, or to most people. Not only was it dead, but it was just getting consistently shit on by pop culture, especially in North America. In Europe, probably not as much, but like in the words of Arlo Eisenberg, no one was high-fiving you down the street going, "That's cool, man." Well, he said, not only did was rollerblading not part of anything to do with the mainstream culture, people didn't want to see it, and if you did see it, it was in a joking way. So if you ever watch the intro of the first mushroom blading video, that feeling, that I tried to capture that feeling, and it made me really angry because, but it's part of the growth, I guess. But man, you look at certain things like punk rock or skateboarding, when they went underground, it wasn't nearly as long. Like, to a lot of people, rollerblading is still underground. Like 2 decades almost 2 decades where somebody thinks an activity is completely dead that people don't do anymore. It's pretty wild when there's a huge group of people all around the world and videos being made. That's what made it exciting too. I mean, you couldn't get parts for certain skates, and you definitely weren't cool for doing it, but it was cool to be a part of something that underground and that disliked, that something that was so fun still. But I digress. So hated the Shadows, still skated them because that was, I think I wanted to be Dustin Lattimer. But if you're a tall Canadian who likes to skate flat and skated rems a lot, Shadows maybe not the best choice for you. So I went back to rems. This is 07, 08-ish. This is a skate crisis, this little stretch here. Not like the quality wasn't as good. This is no longer a rems rider, just wanting to buy something that I really like. And there were some dud models that I still skated. They were just not as comfortable. But I at least reconnected to what I liked to skate. I remember going to a Wednesday or Thursday night skate and our friend Brian Baxter saying that I looked like myself again or something along those lines, that you look comfortable in those skates when I went back to rems. So that was the mushroom blading 2, 3, and 4 era back in rems. Flat frames, either physics or 50-50 frames. Also in this era, the Rems OS 1, easily one of the most uncomfortable, worst feeling skates I've ever had. It was a price point Rems. They looked so ninja. There's a podcast of Todd and I talking about them, where it was me, Josh, Leon. Todd was still in his Shadows, I think. We had all got them and went to skate this spot, Canby, this ledge spot. And I think all of us, stopped skating them after the first session, or all of us were having so many foot pains and blisters. And it was just funny being at a session where 3 out of the 4 people were super excited to skate these new ninja looking skates, and everybody was having a bad time except for Todd. I think he was. The thing about Shadows, they were comfortable, but the Rems OS 1, big misstep. It was like hit and miss. Like half the Rems were really good, and then the other half that I had tried, the quality or the skin, or there was things that just weren't right. You couldn't mess with any of the first era models. The first 3 or 4 models, the first couple of halfies were amazing skates. So back into skate crisis again. I don't know why I just didn't go back. I think I went back and forth between Rems and some of these things. I got a pair of I bought a pair of the Razors, the first SLs, which were the Aragon ones. And again, I think I gave them 2 or 3 sessions. They felt horrible. They felt wide. They felt sloppy. The grind angles felt dumb, especially for Royales. They just didn't feel good. Josh Silver famously bought them. Yeah, I think he bought them along with me, or he tried mine. I can't remember, but he tried them one run in the bowl and in a bowl at a skate park and did all of his tricks. He did a really nice line, but he just went no after he got out of the bowl and just took them off. And it was so funny because he skated them really well and landed all of his tricks, but he got the same feeling that they just didn't. The liner had all this shit everywhere, the neoprene thing. They just didn't feel good. I think the newer ones are better, but I just Razors was 0 for 2 for me. First the Elliots and then the SL. People love the SL though, so power to them. Around this same time, I think that was the Vancouver era, so we're nearing the end of this decade. We're getting close to 2010. We're kind of 2008, 2009. I got a pair of, I think I was still using the K2s to exercise in Vancouver. When I got moved back to Kamloops, I got a pair of Bont semi-race with the 3-point mount. Amazing boots. Way more responsive and fast than the K2 ones I was using, the Radicals or the Radical Pro. This is where I actually got into trying different, upgrading better wheels. And that's when I think I tried, what were they called? Adams Inline sold their own kind of wheels, and I don't know who poured them, but they were way faster than the stock wheels. That's where I started to understand wheel quality was more important, because I don't, outside of face wheels for aggressive, I don't know if I had a preference really. So those were life-changing in terms of how unique higher end race skate could feel on a rough road with good wheels, the speed that you could get going. And again, like the fitness aspect, helping doing tricks on skates was a big deal. Also that ankle strength from the Rems, building that up with a low cut race boot. Pretty amazing skates. I need to get them fixed. The buckle's broken and the Velcro doesn't work, so I have to hockey tape them if I use them, but the 3-point mount's really solid. Highly recommend them. I don't know if they're still making the semi-race, but good. Was a sucker for the Deshi Carbon first coming out. I thought that maybe that the feel of my Bont skates mixed with Rems, like a really responsive. I like that idea of carbon, like a speed skate feel in an aggressive skate. But again, so that was my second pair of USDs. Sorry, I hit my hand there. Didn't like them within the first session or the second, and they were pricey. So I sold them to Dana, and he skated them very well. He's in those skates in mushroom blading too. Sometimes you just know right away that you don't like a skate, and that was definitely one of them. It's funny because I think Todd was in those skates too in mushroom. Yeah, Todd and Dana were both in Deshi Carbons for mushroom blading too, and I'm back in Rems. So that was around this era that I always would go back to Rems, even if they weren't super quality. It was just the place that was comfortable and that I skated the best in. Them flat, Rems flat, cuffless. That was my skate. That was the main skate for the decade, even though I tried a bunch of other stuff. So now we're into 2010 to the present. Somewhere along the lines, I got in contact with Kato, or I don't know how, but I got flowed a pair of maybe through Shop Task, possibly. I got a pair of the Rems Halfy, the 2.0, the white ones. Amazing skates. Easily one of the best Rems ever, and on point or better than the earliest Rems. Yeah, amazing skates. They came with the V-cut. They came exactly how Halfy had set them up. So they had a V-cut cuff and the strap instead of the buckle on the cuff. They were amazing. Can't say anything bad about them. Funny enough, that was the first Rems that I used the updated sole plates. I always had a huge stock, and still do, of the 3-piece or 2-piece, whatever you want to call them, but the backslide plate, the negative and positive plate, and then the heel piece. When they started making them 1-piece, I thought it took away the feel of the skate a little bit, the close feel. But people were snapping frames with the old soles. So I think especially if you skated anti or freestyle, you were more likely to snap the soles. But the 1-piece felt really good on the Halfies. Next, there's a bunch of Rems here. The True Balance model, which was... Oh yeah, at this point I was getting skates from Rems, I guess because Mushroom Blading 2, 3, and 4 had all come out, and I was in Rems for all those. So I think I was getting them either through Shop Task or directly from Rems, not sure. But Shout out to Kato, and shout out to shoutouts. The True Balance model was the model where they had changed the alignment. So this was a different sole plate that wasn't compatible with any of the previous models. There was less pronation. In a lot of people would stood weird or would get the sixth toe feeling in REMs because of the way the alignment was. So I think it was the heel moved in. But I remember enjoying these. There was a little bit like too much stuff on them. They felt bigger and bulkier. But I remember really liking these skates and loving the new alignment, especially the way my knees and back felt after skating them. Something about having the alignment switched was really nice. And then there was also a orange and black model of this skate that I skated that I really liked. Still a bit like puffier, and maybe a little bit too much stuff, but still good. And then there was the Rems Halfy 2.0, the black ones. I think I bought those ones because I liked the white ones so much, and I wanted a skate that you could use the old style sole plates on. Because although I liked the bigger sole plate, I still liked the close feel of the old sole plate. So I think I bought those ones. And then somewhere in the mix here, because Shadow was doing a pretty... These were Power Slide Shadows now, not Solomon Shadows. The quality was not as good, but their team was amazing, and they were doing a great job with marketing. And maybe Shop Task had like a 2-for-1 deal. So I got the red Stockwells and I think the Schwab skates. I skated the red Stockwells once and then ended up selling both pairs. These things happen. You know, you want to try something else and it just doesn't work out, you know? But there is evidence of me skating the red ones. I think I do a spinny cess and a weird hand plant thing. Then I saw the K2 contact came back through Mike Powell. I think I hit him up and wanted to try the red Varsity because K2 hadn't made anything in a while, and they made this crazy ass looking skate called the Varsity that was really red and had a new sole plate, and I had to try it just because of all the K2 stuff I had tried previously and having a little bit of a relationship with them throughout the British Columbia rep. So I got Todd and I a set of those, thank you to Mike Powell, and I really liked those skates and I skated good in them. We both did. They fit really well, they were comfortable. They were size nice. K2 always has half sizes, true half sizes. The sole plate slid great. They were a little sloppy, definitely made cheaper than previous stuff, but the fit and comfort was still there. And the plate, even though it bolted in just with 2 UFS bolts, the way it clicked on or the way it held onto the boot, yeah, we got a lot of shit for using those, but they were good skates. Following that year, I think since I had a video company in town, the product videos came back, but this time it wasn't just it was originally product knowledge videos just for BC through J or something, and now this was doing the actual product videos for K2, so I was able to get the updated Varsity, which Luis Zamora came back to K2 and did some work with Robert Liavanos and worked with Powell and improved the red Varsity, and then it was the black one. The liner was better. The materials, it was stiffer. It looked way cooler. Amazing skates, but something about K2 since the kind of the transfer Nemesis era and making the Shrine in Lenin, which didn't sell very well, and the industry was going down, they never got their footing. So I still think the Varsity is a really underrated skate. And they got Louis Zamora to help with it. And that's still, rollerblading's so weird that way. It didn't catch on. I also tried a pair of Fatty Pros that I got through doing the product videos, because you would have to film the skates on the spinny thing. So I think, yeah, I got Fatty Pros, tried those. They were so sloppy to the point that you could stand in them and bend the cuff all the way over to the ground pretty much, that doing them up completely still didn't really do anything. But I skated them maybe with the big frames, and yeah, skated them with the big frames for a bit, and they felt good, but they weren't supportive enough. This era also did a review for the Mushroom Blading site of the Eisler Carbon Free, which Skates UK sent to us. I think that's who sent it to us, because I guess they wanted a review, and we were playing with that idea of doing more review stuff or articles on the site, which I don't like the idea of now. But yeah, those skates I liked them, but I didn't like the skin on them. I didn't like that they had a skin. They just felt puffy, and same thing, like USDs I didn't get on well with. Maybe something about the cuff, I don't know. They got a pretty good review, but I didn't get excited to continue skating them. Then came the era where we saw Leon in the Seba boot with this crazy looking wakeboard liner in it, and he was killing it, and the skates looked fast and comfortable. And that was the FRA with the pre-Intuition skate liner, the Intuition Aqualiner, and that was the whole journey of Big Wheels, and Big Wheels 1 had started. And that was when it got to that point where the whole aggressive attitude faded away. The industry was so not dead, but it didn't matter at that point. What skates it did to some, but now I remember getting an email from Todd in Vancouver. I was living in Kamloops, and he told me about these skates called Seba, that him and Leon were skating, or he got to try Leon's one night. I remember the direct quote in the email was, "They make aggressives feel like shit," which was always very memorable. And then I think that's when they started experimenting with, they started doing cone skating. And I remember being at Dallas's Stag. I was intrigued by those skates. I was always intrigued by them because it was like the first free skate brand, or free skate slalom brand, by like somebody who skated had come up with his preferences for a skate. It was exciting because it was outside of aggressive, but it was still from somebody who loved to skate. So apparently the skates were really good. And I remember at Dallas's Stag at the Salmon Arm skate park seeing Leon in these futuristic looking big wheel skates that had a sole plate, and the now famous, it was a wakeboard liner, Intuition liner at the time, pre-Intuition skate liner. He had put a wakeboard liner in this Seba boot, and they just looked so responsive and fast, and the tricks that he did in them were amazing. And that started the whole Big Wheels 1 and 2 era. So that was the FRA, with the Intuition Aqua would have been Big Wheels 1. And it was so exciting at that time because the two had merged. So the side of me that used speed skates and had the K2 Soul 7s way back, but also loved to skate flat, and wasn't a huge grinder, especially in kind of the late mid to late 2000s, my style was very much rolling and swiveling and wheel slidey things. It was exciting to me that there was this skate that wasn't aggressive. It was called the FRA, like the FR aggressive. That it was just this weird mix, and it was a new path to go down. That finally the two things were starting to mix a little bit more, and definitely this was an era where nobody cared. Like rollerblading was so dead to the mainstream that it could be anything to me. I don't know, that there was like the power blading thing going on. It was just kind of a cool new era for skating where there was awesome stuff being made, amazing skaters, everyone was in it for the right reasons, and this experimentation with tech started a little bit. So yeah, that was the FRA with Intuition Aqualiner. Then I tried the Seba Trix 90 in this era, which was a great boot, but you couldn't use the Intuition with it, and I was really into the rockered frames. I need to try that boot again. I think it would be really good as a UFS boot, or maybe I would appreciate it more now with using the wizards and everything, but I had some of those through Leon. They were good. Then I was confused about aggressive skates at this time, and I was watching a lot of Alex Broskow probably and wanted to try the Valo V13, which was basically at this point now just the Rose's M12. And because the Intuition skate liner came out, developed from the Aqualiner, I thought I could downsize into a size 9. No, bad choice. I think I lasted 1 or 2 sessions in those. I had to sell those. And then around this era, so I was able to downsize into a smaller FRA boot. That was in Big Wheels 2 with the Intuition skate liner. Amazing setup. The only problem with those is that the frame bolts would get loose, which was really annoying. Sometimes you would do a trick and your frame would be in a different position at the bottom of a set of stairs or something like that. Then, of course, if you want to hear the whole story about all of the experiments Leon was doing around Big Wheels 2 and the Wizard frame era, this was life-changing with gutting the Seba SX boot and the Seba CJ boot, putting an Intuition in it, Leon developing his own frame that took the best pieces of... it took parts of speed skating and slalom and had combined all these things that I had been experimenting with and that Leon had been experimenting with, and I had found a setup kind of like the Rems, the cuffless Rems with flat originally, or the very earliest, like a K2. You get a good skate that a really good skate that you're comfortable in with some new tech, or it can be really basic at the same time, but it can bring out parts of your style or parts of your vision for skating that you didn't even know existed, or maybe enhance the way you thought of skating in a new way. So this whole era of the Wizards and the Intuitions and the gutted Seba boots, just amazing. Still one of my I would probably take these skates, the Wizard skate, the Wizard setup, I would probably take that more than I would aggressive skates. Aggressive skates are fun toys that you slide on things with, but for outside of doing tricks, the Wizard skate does everything and so many things, and does it really well. Oh, I'm running out of time. I'll quickly go through. I had a pair of SX with liner. They hurt. They were too small. That's in the Seba Canada edit. I'm in those in the Vancouver scene, and they hurt. Then I figured I would try Rems again, I think because I was smoking cannabis one night and thinking like I should get Rems again. I was maybe like pointing my toes before I went to bed and like I should try Rems again. And then I got the Nils 2, the white and red ones, chopped a bunch of stuff off of them, filmed 34 soul grinds for turning 34, got a black toenail, my toe fell off. I think I skated those twice. They're just sitting in the garage. Definitely the most expensive edit I've ever filmed. Probably cost 450 Canadian dollars just for that one edit because of those skates. Then the K2 Unnatural, many different versions. I tried the Front Street and the Midtown, all the 2016 versions. When K2 was making another push, that was meeting Rachel. That was through the Mike Powell contact again. Unnatural was great it was very stiff, but it was great for aggressive and for big wheeling. Still is. The 2016 Front Street was kind of weird. It had the toe cap, more of a fatty feel, but the Unnatural was better. The Midtown was really good. That was their 80 millimeter free skate. It also fits the varsity plate. That's a good skate. Underrated. The Midtown's underrated. Midtown and Uptown are underrated. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Uptown. Both the Midtown and the Uptown were both really good, underrated skates. Then there was the K2 Unnatural, the green ones, which are great with R100, great for aggressive, very supportive. You can use tall frames on them. You'll get lots of support. The brown and black Front Streets. There was also the K2 Sodo, which was like a redo of the sole boot, but and it came with the R100, but the support wasn't there. I would say the Unnatural is a better big wheel boot than the Sodo, but the Sodo looked really cool. I think they had to do it from a sales perspective. I'm going through this really quick. Then I wanted to try V13 M12 again. I think because I was watching, I really liked Danny Beers skating in them and wanted to get a pair. So I got the proper size 10. Loved them, had them with wish frames. Loved them so much that I got the Midnight V13s. Loved those too. Rose's, the quality was really good. Rose's, I guess, Volo V13, Rose's M12. Yeah, the quality was good. Loved those skates. They were a little soft, especially in hot weather, but with the intuitions and the wish frames, it was like having a new experience with an old favorite. The exact boot that I skated, but with a lower cuff, maybe a bit softer. Then there was a 2020 K2 boot that was never released. It had the 250cc tongue and flex points. It's too bad it never came out. Maybe it will one day. It was a big improvement on the Unnatural. Then the Them skates came out and I got the black and ivory in medium. They both felt too big even with the intuitions. The ivory felt extra soft. So a new skate crisis had begun. And I think I went back to the K2s, or I was skating my Wizard boots more. I skated the blacks a little bit, skated the ivories a little bit. Then I heard Danny had downsized into the small shell. Very exciting time for skating in terms of the idea and the man behind them, and just a shift in general in skating that was super exciting. Kind of matched the excitement of the Wizard stuff for me. But the aggressive, it kind of renewed my interest in aggressive in a new way, doing tricks on rollerblades. So when I found out Danny downsized, I got a set of small Them skates, the 908. Did I say 908 or 909? 909's not out yet. But I got small black 908s, downsized. They hurt my feet. And I got small Darce later on. They hurt my feet. Took them to a ski shop, tried to get them punched out. Still hurt my feet. Loved the way they skated. Really liked them with the intuitions. Just too small, and the medium was too big. But then they came out with their own intuitions. The blue Them 909 LE with their own intuitions, it's a bit thicker than a traditional intuition skate liner. Fills out the shell more. I got them dialed. These are some of my favorite aggressive inline skates I've had in a long time. With the them intuitions, they fit really well. Really enjoying doing post slides in them. I got the fit dialed. Had to try a bunch of different them skates, but I'm even more excited for the 909 now. And I have my big wheel setup dialed because I got the updated Wizard boot with the bigger toe box and intuition liners. It took all this time in trying all of these skates for me to figure out a simple boot with a comfortable liner with either anti-rocker or a nice grinder blading frame. Sorry for using that word if it offends you. And then a comfortable intuition liner on a carbon boot with a Wizard frame and high quality wheels. It's like everything had come together. You just see two skates. You can't combine both. There's the big wheeling setup that is fast and has bits of speed skating and slalom with ski influence liner. And then there's the liner, but a thicker version that fits in a simple plastic boot. I like where I'm at. Thank you for listening. That was a lot. Hopefully that wasn't too fast. Jeez. Thank you.